Oh, this is lovely. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. We are talking about emerging music markets here. I want to get straight into the conversation and just a very quick words from our amazing speakers. Maybe you tell us why it's a topic you know about, why you know about innovations, technology in the music industry. Starting with you, please, Alf.
Well, I've been in the music industry since the end of the 80s. Been involved with technology, computers, electronic music since 1981. Oh. It's quite a long time. And I founded a band called Ace of Base, and I started to invest in tech companies, music tech companies, in the mid-90s. So I've been around for 20 years investing in that sector.
Amazing. Tim, what about you?
Slightly older, so I've been around for 30 years in live entertainment, working with artists, promoters.
Want to move your mic a little bit? Yeah.
Artists, promoters, venues, and ticketing. Formed TicketWeb in the UK, worked with Ticketmaster and then Live Nation across Europe. So I represent the live side of the equation here.
You're the live guy. And here we have Laurence.
Yes, so I spent more than 20 years in the music industry in France as managing director of Warner Music and Sony. And in the 2000s, I made a move to the telco operator in charge of music development. So I tried to get a vision of what would be the future for the music as a telco side. And I developed a range of music services. And when the streaming arrived on the market with Deezer and Spotify, we decided not to do our own music services because we developed a lot before, but we decided to make distribution partnership. For example, in France with Deezer, it was a startup.
Yeah.
So yes, exactly.
And you still continue to watch what's going on with startups.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to talk about it. Maybe just going back to Alf, and it's for everybody, what is the technology, innovation, advancement in the music industry today that is exciting you most? Alf, tell us about this.
I mean, we haven't seen the tip of the iceberg yet. Everybody thought that the disruption was happening with Napster. Of course, things happened with Napster. It was a part of the disruption. And I think the whole audience can learn from the music industry. We were the first industry to be disruptive. You cannot sit on your fancy offices and just don't look at technology as something you need to use. I mean, the music industry was extremely late adapters to that. Already in 2010, the music industry still thought that internet was a threat. So, of course, Spotify changed the mathematics a little bit. But the big change going forward would definitely be within do-it-yourself technologies and big data.
Yeah.
And also a lot of tools that can actually help you to create music and distribute.
You have any startups right now on your radar that you love?
There is so many, and I'm lucky to be a Swede and living in Stockholm. And I think half of all the music tech companies come from Stockholm. And I'm involved with a few of them. But I think companies like Amuse will completely disrupt the way of distributing music and collecting data. Will definitely be a game changer in emerging markets. Companies like Soundio, which is a Finnish company, artificial intelligence that understands music and music perception as a professional musician does, which means everyone can pick up an instrument and immediately sound like a rock star and also learn while playing. This is going to completely disrupt the music industry in a very short period of time. And then you have a lot of analytic companies that also going to make the music industry much, much more transparent.
So we're going to get back to this. So big data, analytics, and do-it-yourself technologies, two main areas. What about you, Tim? What excites you most right now?
The key area of technology intervention is actually within the live environment. And specifically for me within ticketing, that's where the customer data comes from. That's where the revenues come from. And the ability to be able to have peer-to-peer or direct-to-consumer messaging via mobile or via the web-based ticketing engines have enabled a massive growth of revenues for the live music industry. It now considerably has outgrown the recorded music and publishing sector, and will continue to grow as that's documented internationally.
Okay.
So ticketing technologies are the key area of interest for me.
You were saying that this attention that we see around VR technology, AR, like this entire innovation landscape for music, for live music or live entertainment, you think this is also related to the evoluting market, like the way the market moves, right?
Well, certainly AR and VR will have an increasing role to play. How big we will only see in the fullness of time. But death is now no longer a release for some artists. They will, the greatest hit tours will come back featuring Elvis and the Rolling Stones and Beatles and all the yesteryear hits. Excuse me. The new technologies will add value. They will be of incremental value, but arguably they will not replace at the core the live experience.
Yeah, okay.
The ability to have that call and response emotion with the audience here now experiencing this, although this event is being streamed, it's not quite the same visceral power of engagement as actually being here live.
You're very interested in that space, right, Laurence?
Yes, exactly.
On
VR, because yes, at Orange we invest in a platform, in American one, who produce and distribute VR content on movie, but also on music and games. So we are going to launch this month in December across Europe. In our flagship, and also it will be compatible with all the glasses. But yesterday I was at Slush Music, and I met... It
was amazing, right?
It was amazing, yes. And I met a young startup. I don't remember the name, sorry. But I made the experience. They produce a hip-hop video clip on VR as a game. And I was quite impressive because I was completely close to the singer, and it was a game. And I think that for me, I feel a specific emotion, even I'm not a hip-hop, fan. Even I signed a lot of hip-hop band before. But I think that with the young people, this kind of experience would be very disruptive, and because there is an emotion. So video clip in VR, I think will also be in the future a thing we could have a look for artists. And for example, Björk, she did an amazing also exhibition in different countries with a concert on VR. And I think on urban artists and artists as Björk, who has a very, fine and innovative image, could be very interesting.
Okay, what other areas of innovation you think are already maybe disrupting, but are about to impact even more the recording business, like this part of the business?
The recorded business, I think.
Industry.
So for us, it's more, subscription model.
Yeah.
If you want to speak about business model, it's subscription model. It's also new territories, when we spoke about new territories, because Orange is in Europe, but also we are in 22 countries in Middle East and Africa. And these are really the new emerging market for revenue for the music industry and for the artist too, and especially also locally, because there is a lot, an emerging, market for artists, but it's not organized yet.
Yeah.
So I think subscription model too, and...
Anyone want to react to this buzz around the impact of AI, chatbots on the music industry, the fact that artists could have their own bot, which you could use to communicate with? You see that a lot popping up, or what?
Yeah, well, everybody talking about it. I'm not sure if it's good enough yet to say if it's going to work or not. Of course, it all comes down to how smart the AI will be in the future. It will be much smarter, obviously. But AI is going to change a lot.
Like, for example, music creation. Like this guy from Jukdeck, for example. You know, they have this computer program that creates music. I think they have already like 500,000 songs that were composed by the AI.
Yeah. So there's obviously two sides of AI. I think AI could be a great complement of creating music. So for example, if you're a composer and you need actually more backing track, like a producer behind it, I think a computer will be able to be a producer in a very short period of time, within the next 5 years. This company Soundio, that artificial intelligence will actually give superpowers to anyone on this planet to be able to be musicians. And actually 85% of the world population wants to be able to play an instrument. So that's going to democratize the whole industry, that everybody can actually start creating music. So AI is going to play a huge role when it comes to music creation, but also the choice of what you're listening to on the streaming service is going to be much, much smarter going forward. So you can really create playlists really based on your taste and your best friend's taste. And talking about playlists, that had also changed the music industry dramatically. I'm not sure that people have really realized that, but people don't care about artists anymore. Well, Justin Bieber and a few others they do care about, but they care about songs and they care about playlists. And that's why there's a lot of businesses now actually doing covers on businesses, because the master tape rights have now moved into companies who are doing the covers. And it's also a way for Spotify and Deezer and similar to not be so depending on the music industry.
Yeah, they can create their own direct revenues. Coming back to live, what are you, I don't know, I mean, AI, of course, not really the space where, or maybe, yes, it's a space where live music will be impacted, but I was wondering, is it possible to innovate very well there, or the market is too consolidated? Like, can I come with a small ticketing startup and just disrupt the entire industry? I will be killed before by Ticketmaster and the likes.
Despite the apparent market dominance of 3 major aggregators in the world, being that Ticketmaster within North America and Western Europe, CTS Eventim within the German-speaking territories, and the TEG group in Australia, the Far East, their actual geographical footprint is quite small in comparison to, there's no real market entry in South America or Africa or even Central and Eastern Europe. So there's plenty of territories for those consolidators to expand into. Similarly, within the live experience, there's a great fracturing of, for instance, ticketing. So you can have a mobile app for West End Theatre. You can have a ticket service for the performing arts in Slovakia. You can have a sports ticketing engine for the Far East that links to the local betting network. So there are all sorts of formulations around the live experience.
Yeah. So you see a market for niches.
Global but local. You always have to understand what works in the local economies.
You see that happening as well in those territories where you have presence? Like local businesses that are serving very specific needs?
Yes, it's really key also, especially in African Middle East, I think, where the market is to be built in live, but also in record business. And I think it will come by the emerging startup too, locally or regionally. I think that today, for example, for the streaming, on this country, the global company as Deezer, Spotify, they didn't emerge today because they have no access to the local content also, and there is no business model today because, it's more prepaid market. 90%, more than 90% are prepaid market in these countries, and the ARPU is the ARPU, average revenue per user, is very low compared to Western, to Europe or US. So today there is no really actors we should provide a good service for an operator and for our customers. Except, for example, there is one in Lebanon called Anhami, and they have, because they have Arabic
catalog.
Yes, exactly. So that is really key to have, and also the Chinese and Indian company. They have a look on the emerging countries.
It's funny because this configuration makes me, like, ask you like this in a second. I want to get back to you all. You were saying just before that people don't care anymore about artists. I'm one of those who believe that technology, internet has empowered artists. Like you are able to do. You mentioned DIY tools and services that didn't exist before. Maybe we can dig a little bit more into this relation between artists and startups. There is also a lot of comparison done, like saying it's like the same. Like we're creators. And entrepreneurs are also like artists in that sense. And record labels are like the VCs of the music industry.
It's very similar, yes. Except for that, record companies are not as sophisticated as the VCs.
Yeah. So what do you think? What you were saying that artists, people don't care about artists anymore.
Well,
I understand your point with the songs, but
yeah, obviously artists they reach a level that they can start touring and working with great guys like him. Would be but then you need to have a lot of fans.
Yeah.
There's so many musicians out there. We maybe have 10,000 fans, but that could be enough to start with.
Yeah.
I think the whole business model for record companies have to be really disruptive in a big way soon, because you have examples like Mike Perry sitting in his garage, suddenly have tens of millions, hundreds of millions of views on YouTube, and the record industry have to prepare for the next 20 Mike Perrys. And they're going to demand much more transparency, completely new contract, completely new way of dividing the revenues.
Let's talk about that, about transparency issue.
Yeah.
So, impact of blockchain.
Yeah, impact of blockchain. Obviously, this is another buzzword.
Yeah.
I think blockchain is great. It still have a lot of issues, of course. But blockchain, I think it's the ones who have developed for the most.
Yeah.
Is definitely one way of looking at saving the music industry. If the music industry if us artists are part of the music industry, because normally the music is in the record companies, to really be able to get labeled your songs, so you really get the right revenues. The numbers of revenues that goes in the wrong hands is about 50 to 60% of the whole market don't reach the artist.
What do you think about that?
From the record sales.
Yeah, but Tim is reacting.
Yeah.
Okay, within the recorded music and publishing world, historically artists have received a small proportion of the gross transactional value. Within live, artists typically receive the overwhelming majority of the gross transactional value.
Big difference.
So my issue with that is that's a statement for the recorded music, not necessarily for live. Going back to the issue around single songs.
Yes.
Consumers like a single song rather than a library, and that's led to the development of TV shows based around songs and a spectacle, which has led to the review-style arena tours, having multiple artists perform their single songs. It's also led to part of the development of festivals, especially with EDM, where there's this constant carousel of excitement. And at the other extreme, it's also led to kind of heritage acts doing their greatest hits album tour, so that they're not necessarily performing any new songs, they're providing for you a taste of yesteryear.
I got it. We were having the opening words from the European Commission before, and I'm wondering if, Europe has a different take on this, like in terms of cultural diversity. Do we have like a mission to make sure that the way technology is serving music is like impactful socially, that it has, like values at its core? What do you think, Laurence? I'm sure you have your own opinion about that.
Yes. It shows that diversity is key for is key for the creation. But I think that with all today the services we had with Spotify, Deezer, and Apple Music, and there is diversity.
Yeah, we have everything there.
Exactly, we have everything there, exactly. And and today I think that we need maybe to, with all the tools, with the technology, more and more artists will become, entrepreneur. And I think regarding what some years ago I developed with the hip-hop scene in France, for example, the urban artists, they already organize themselves as entrepreneurs because they know how to win money. So because for them it was vital at the beginning. And I think that the technology would help them to get more revenue from the different.
You think we're going to go to 100 billion market at some point? Do you think we're going to go to 100 billion market at some point globally?
Not a bigger.
Yeah, I said 100 billion dollar market.
Billion. Yeah.
No.
Yes, but I think who will be, the winner of that? But depending, I think, on the country.
We're getting to the end of the panel, but I want to make sure that you can share with our audience. It's massive here. We have a lot of people. What are you looking for here at Slush? And if they can come to you to ask you for something, maybe for help, if they come to pitch their company because they are doing ticketing and they need some advice, what are you looking for?
Anything that is disruptive. I love disruptive technologies. Doesn't matter what sector.
You had a startup yourself in 1996, music tech.
Yeah, Boxman. But I learned one thing, it's never good to be the first one.
Yeah.
Always follow Apple, always be the second on the ball, but do it better.
Okay.
We were the first, not a good idea.
What about you, Tim?
I'm not so much looking for disruptive operators. I'm looking for those who can add value, those who can increase overall revenues or increase reach or communicate to a wider audience. So I'm looking for enabling technologies or services rather than those who are fighting about market share.
As for me, it's my first Slush.
Do you like it?
Yes. Yeah? Impressed. And inspiration, and I think I got it. And especially about VR, I think, so if there is anyone in the room about VR, content VR, I'm quite interested.
How many consumers do you have at Orange? How many clients?
At Orange, 110, more than 110 millions in Africa, Middle East, and the same in Europe.
So total 220 millions?
Sorry?
200 million clients over?
Exactly.
So if you're doing VR, you want to reach out 200 million clients, you know how to talk to.
But first in Europe.
Yes, first we're starting to Europe. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And it's been a pleasure. Let's continue the conversation outside of the stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much.